Well, hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. Today is Sunday, January 10th, and this is Life Matters. Let's talk about it. Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. Thank you so very much for joining me today on Life Matters with Michelle. I am your host, Michele Irby Johnson, and I'm excited about our time together. Remember, Life Matters is about those things that matter to you in your life, those things that matter in our community, the African American community. And I just invite you to drop your comments in the comment section so that we can fill them over to my most beautiful guest, Miss Melva McGlen. Say hello to the people, my dear.
Hello, people. How are you? Michelle, it's so nice to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm excited about our conversation today.
I am so excited. I want to introduce you to the people. I mean, I've known you, gosh, since the 80s. You know, I'm always telling my age when I invite people, but I've known you since the 80s. But I want to introduce everybody to this phenomenal woman. She is the founder of Inspired for Life Women's Empowerment Network and the CEO of Book to Business Publishing. She's a business owner, author, speaker, coach. She's gifted and passionate about helping others execute and achieve their goals. God knows we need that, right? Just one encounter conversation with her will take your life and the life of your business to the next level. Her career and her journey to entrepreneurship started 15 years ago when she launched her first enterprise, Inspired for Life Women's Empowerment Network. You got to go out there and follow her on Facebook, y'all. She got some good stuff. And it's an organization that's created to empower, to educate, and engage women in business, in ministry, and in leadership. She built it while working full-time, raising a family, and working towards completing a degree. She's a full-time entrepreneur. She spends her time teaching others how to find success through sharing the lessons, insights, and wisdom she gained from her personal journey. In 2017, she successfully launched Book to Business, a publishing and business strategy service that focuses on helping independent authors and entrepreneurs to create wealth through creating multiple streams of income. There's so much more I can say about her, but I will say that her personal mantra is no vision left behind. I love it. I love it. I love it. She speaks to her dedication and life's work to push others into a place of their greatest potential and God-given destiny. Melva is a true example of what it means to be a champion for positive change. Once again, welcome to my beautiful sister, my beautiful guest, Miss Melva McGlen. What's up, sis?
Hey, wow, that was exciting listening to the bio. It's interesting to hear your own bio read, but I tell you, I'm having a good time on my journey. Let me just start there.
I know that's right. I know that's right. And so today, Melva is going to talk to us about the art of executing a dream. Okay, so for all of you out there who feel like your dream has died or whatever, we're hoping that by the end of this show, Melva will have given you something, or you can connect to her after the show and find out how you can get where you're trying to go. Is that all right? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So we're talking about the art of executing a dream. Can you give us a little insight in what it means to be a dreamer? Because some people are, are just spastic or spacey, but is that the same thing as being a dreamer? Give us some insight into that.
Okay, so it's interesting because we're living in a time, and you hear it all the time. I'm a dreamer. I'm a dreamer. People, walking around talking about being dreamers. But when you really, really look at that, there's so many layers to it, and hoping that we'll be able to get to some of that before during this conversation. But initially, when you think about who is a dreamer or what it means to be a dreamer, it's simply a person with a vision, a
Mm.
person who dreams of a better day, a better time, a better way, if you will. So, with that, anyone can be a dreamer. Anyone can have a dream. Anyone can think about, having um, a better way of doing something, or dream of a better day or better time in life. And so, basically, it's a person with a vision.
And well, people who know me, they know I'm a pastor, so I'm going to always infuse some scripture somewhere. The Bible tells us that without a vision, the people perish. And so,
Absolutely.
so oftentimes people are telling you, like you said, you hear it day in and day out, I'm a dreamer, I'm a dreamer. But at the same time, they're not putting feet to their faith, and
Uh-huh.
they're expecting this dream to show up just because they thought it. When we think about Joseph, who was a dreamer, and his brothers, hated him because he had such an expansive mind, and he would say what God said, and he would see it. They were mad at him. Let's talk to those people who are dreamers without actually taking steps. What does that mean? I mean, you have people who are like, I'm a dreamer, I want this, but they're not doing anything.
Yes, and that is the problem. And I think this is a great conversation to have at the beginning of the year because, as we know, this is a season and a time where people are putting together vision boards and purpose boards and all of those types of things. And they're talking about their dreams. But it's not enough to just have a dream. And so remember, I said anyone could actually have a dream, anyone can be a dreamer. But what the difference is between a dreamer and someone who's going to execute their dream, you need passion. And I love that we're in the month of January because this is a time when we're looking at Dr. King, observing Dr. King's life.
Yes.
And of course, he did a famous speech, one of his most famous speech, "I Have a Dream." And so Dr. King is a prime example of a dreamer who knows how to put feet to his dream. And so what happened is when you are a dreamer, you should also have, if you have a dream, you should also have passion. You should have passion to move it forward. You should have passion to take action because the Bible, and if I may quote a scripture as well, it says faith without works
Is
is
dead.
dead. And
Mm-hmm.
so what we have, Michelle, is a lot of people who are saying they have a dream, but they're not putting action to it. They're expecting something to fall out of the sky or just something to happen and have the dream materialize, but that's not the way that it works. So I would say to those people, if you have a dream without passion, the first thing I would do is begin to think about where that dream came from. And
Mm-hmm.
if it's truly a God inspired dream, I would say definitely pray for that passion to move forward towards executing that dream.
And I'm so glad that you brought Martin Luther King into the conversation because I was going to say, his famous, one of his famous speeches, I have a dream. But in that, what did he do? He did marches. He went to the
Absolutely.
president. He did all of these things to move us closer as a people,
Absolutely.
closer towards what he saw in his mind and in his spirit. And I think the error that we make is that we tell our children to have a dream or to dream about this or what do you want to be, but
Yeah.
then we don't have them to catalog or to actually pin out what that's going to look like. So if you have a child that says they want to be a doctor, but you're not pouring into them, read medical books or go to, look on YouTube on to medical conferences, or we're not doing anything to help them to basically cause that dream to unfold, we're not really teaching them how to pursue. One of the things about my son, Jordan, two things. He always talked about being a paleontologist when he was like 7. And I had
Mm.
to look it up because I was like, what in the world is a paleontologist? And so he told me what it was at that young age. And what did I do? I started taking him to the Museum of the History of Natural History.
Yes.
He would go see the bones, and he was able to tell me about the bones. Then
Yes.
I took him to a retreat for, a science retreat, when he was able to pick apart this ball of something that had bones in it, and they had to put them back. So I started pouring into his dream. What do you think, or what do you believe is the hindrance in, I'm going to start with parents and then I'm going to push forward to the next question. What do you think is a hindrance to parents taking what their children are saying, whether they believe it or not, and actually helping them to fuel this dream?
Well, I think with anyone, and not just parents, but I think it's true of anyone. Sometimes, of course, when we have dreams, a lot of times, well, people say a lot of times, dream big. And dream, a lot of times our dreams are big. They're bigger than us. They're bigger than any place we've ever been or anything we've ever imagined. And
Mhm.
so I think with that, I think a lot of people don't believe that they can achieve what it is they see. And so with that, fear kicks in. But what I like to tell people, and what my own coach has said so often, is that successful people and people who have achieved greatness, one thing we all have in common is that we're human. And so he says that to say this, that if it was achieved by another human, that means there is nothing that they did that I can't do.
Absolutely.
It's not impossible. It's just that you have to be committed to do the work, and you cannot allow the bigness of your
Mhm.
dream to intimidate you, because if you're able to dream it, you're able to achieve it.
That's some good stuff right there. I tell you, that's a t-shirt. Don't allow a dream to intimidate you. And I think that is so true. Even again, whether it's a parent looking towards what a child is saying, or even ourselves. I remember, because I like putting myself in here. Back in 2002, God told me to open up a shelter for domestic violence victims, because I was a victim of domestic violence 23 years ago. I survived it. I got out of it and all of this. And so I had this passion to open this shelter. And so all these things were coming up and coming past me. And, I was thinking I needed this, and someone said I needed degrees. And so after I had obtained 5 degrees, 2 master's degrees, which would support this vision, I started the vision. I started, I named it, I opened it up, I got it ready. Didn't have a building, but I was partnering with hotels. But because my dream perhaps was too big for the people on my board, I wasn't getting the support I needed. I wasn't able to get grants, those who were assigned to do this and assigned to do that. And so after a year, I said, you know what, God, maybe 17 years later, it's just not enough. Not that he wasn't a God big enough to do it, but my passion had run out in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think people have to understand that your passion is going to have ebbs and flows, and that you cannot quit on your dream because you don't see the manifestation of it in 4 years, in 5 years, in 17 years. In my case, who knows, God may take me back to that. But in the interim, I said, I was doing all the work myself, and I had been helping women all along get shelter and all of this stuff for 17 years. And I said, okay, God, I cannot do it necessarily through an actual building or through a nonprofit. I'll just keep doing what I've been doing. I won't truncate the dream. I'll just shift the way that it looks. And so what would you say? We have a question from our audience that says, what do dreamers do if the dream is delayed or deferred, even when it seems like it's denied? Let me read that again. What do dreamers do if the dream is delayed or deferred when it seems like it's denied? What do they
Okay.
do?
So one thing that I've come to realize is that when you have a God inspired dream, that dream is not going to die. It's going to come to pass. You talked about Joseph. Joseph dreamed his dream. I believe he was 17
Mm,
when he had the dream, and it took 13 years
yeah.
for that dream to materialize. So it does come to pass. So what I would say to that person is this: the Bible talks about writing your vision,
Mhm.
right? It says, write the vision, make it plain so that others can run with it. And so
Mm,
sometimes you have to get dream catchers. You have to get people who will come alongside you
come
and
on.
run with you and push you. And but because it is a God inspired dream, it shall come to pass. And so there are people who God will connect you with, the right people to help you to push that dream along. When I launched my first business, Inspired for Life, women's empowerment network, I had people who would come alongside me. Now I did a lot of it by myself, but when I found myself getting weary, just when I felt like giving up, God sent people to
Mm.
help me. And so I would say to that person, begin to pray and ask God to send people who will run with your vision.
That is some good stuff. You talked about the green dream catcher, and that echoes in my spirit because although I had people on my team, now that I hear you say that, and I probably knew it, but to hear you say it again, it was kind of confirmation. They didn't have the same passion that I had.
Mm-hmm.
So
That
I was spinning my wheels trying to get them to they were like, oh, we want to do the work, we want to do the work, but everybody was too busy. People didn't want to commit to the assignments. And
mm-hmm.
so for a brief moment, not very long, I felt like I failed. And then God had to remind me. He said, you know, they don't see it like you see it. And so even though I had to take a step back, and again, God may, revive that in the next year or whatever, or 2 years, or whatever his timing is, because it's always perfect. But I believe that, again, I would need to pray for people who are either already doing that particular work, because working with victims of domestic violence, trying to find them housing and helping them escape and all that stuff, it is not for the faint of heart. And because I'm used to it, I had this, we got to do this, we got to do that. And they just didn't have that. So I'm so glad that you uh, positioned it like that, to say you have to have dream catchers.
Yeah, absolutely. Listen,
That's
just
good.
because you're the dreamer, it doesn't mean that you have to do it alone. It only means that you are the primary person that carries the vision.
Yes.
And so there are people who will again come alongside you. I always say that there are two types of people in the world. There are those who build the bandwagon, and then there are those who jump on.
Uh-huh.
And so, as the dreamer, you're the builder.
Yeah.
And you may just build the platform, but then eventually people will begin to jump on. Remember the movie Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will
Will
come.
come.
Sometimes all you need to do is build the foundation,
Yeah.
but you need to do something. The point is to move toward whatever that vision is.
Okay. And again, you are blessing my life right here, because now my wheels are turning, because I'm thinking about when the pandemic first started, and I wrote a note, a sticky that's sitting over next to my desk here, because my husband and I, we have desks side by side, and we're working side by side, and we put stickies everywhere. And so one of the ones I said, what do I want to do after this? And so in the During the pandemic, I got my website. I did all of this stuff. I'm a speaker, trainer, coach, and I'm like, God, I'm supposed to be doing this. And he woke me up and said, start your own platform called Life Matters with Michele. Here we have it. Never saw that. I always knew I had the gift of gab, but in doing that, I didn't halt at what God was saying. I didn't halt at the promise that God had made to me. He said, you can do this and it'll be all right. And so I believe that a lot of us, even in this season of the pandemic, feel like the shutdown has shut us down.
Oh, no.
So explain or give some insight into the responsibility of the dreamer, even in something like a pandemic. What does that look like? What is their responsibility?
So, and that goes back to what we were saying. You have a dream, and many people do. We look at, again, Dr. King was a person who had a huge dream, a dream that seemed impossible. Can you
Yes.
imagine what the world was like? We're seeing it even now in 2021. But can you imagine in his time, and the challenges he faced? But as the carrier of that dream, his responsibility was to move it forward. His responsibility was simply to share that dream with the world. He didn't even live to see it.
No.
But his responsibility was, listen, when you say, I have a dream, you think about Dr. King's speech for a moment. When he said, I have a dream, he was saying, I have a burden from God. I have an assignment from God. I have a glimpse of the future from God. And so with that burden, he felt that. When you say you are a dreamer, you are carrying a vision from God. When we're talking about God-inspired dreams. When you have that thing will wake you up at night. It will cause you to get up early in the morning. It's the first thing you think about when you wake up. It's the last thing you think about when you lie down. That is the type of dream. And so when you have that type of dream, it is, as a dreamer, as the carrier, listen to this, as the carrier of the dream, it is your responsibility to share it with the world.
Okay, I'm feeling something in my shana now on the left side. I promise you, I'm feeling something. I'm gonna have a deep conversation with hubby when we finish. Seriously, because God inspired, carrier, and it takes me back to the scripture, 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people who are called by my name, that name called is not saying I'm calling you Christian or I'm calling you saint. It's saying you bear my name. That means you carry who I am within you. And so when you said that, I was like, I might have to change my message for this week. But I promise you, when you said we are carriers of a dream, we bear that thing within us.
Yes.
That means wherever we go, it should go. And see, I think a lot of us, we go into places, and you talked about intimidation at the top of the conversation. I think a lot of us are afraid to take what we carry into a territory because we don't think it's going to be received. People are not going to be receptive because they're going to look at it and say, that's crazy. You're crazy. It cannot be done. But a dream is not a dream if it's not too big for you.
Yes.
I tell you, oh God, y'all gonna have to help me calm down. Wait a minute. I already preached for the day. I'm sorry. I gotta bring this down a little bit. I've got to write some notes down. But that is such a blessing. I don't think people really understand the gravity of what you just
said.
Be a carrier.
Absolutely. And so when you understand that a dream is not just something that you just randomly thought of, but it is God inspired, then you understand that with it, there is responsibility. There is a responsibility. There is something God is expecting me to do with this. And when you think about it in those terms, then you realize that procrastinating and not executing your dream then is affecting other people.
Mm.
And even a move of God. You whatever it is you're dreaming about, God gave you that dream for a reason. You know, that is your dream is attached to someone's need. It's an assignment.
Yeah.
And if you read some of the prophets, the books of the prophets, some of them start off, it'll say Habakkuk had a burden from the
Mm-hmm.
Lord. He had a vision. It was something he saw. It was something he heard. A dream is the same thing. It works the same way. So I can say that when I say I have a dream, I'm saying I have a burden from the Lord. Or I'm even saying, Michele, I have an answer
Mm-hmm.
from the Lord. I have someone's answer. And so, therefore, it is my
Oh,
responsibility as
now
the carrier of the dream to execute it.
that's amazing. I tell you, we're gonna have to have you come back. Um, we'll talk about this later. But you know, pastors, they, yeah, okay. So anyway, so I tell you, my mind and my spirit is all over the place because you are just really blessing my whole life. Uh, and I wrote down, I said, a dream is not just an idea.
Right.
It's God inspired. And something you said about being the answer to somebody's problem. And oftentimes in Bible study, I'll tell people, I said, you have to understand what your witness means or who you are in the earth, because there are people assigned to you. Some people will never learn about who they are, whose they are, where they're going, if you don't become who you're supposed to be. And so when you said that about the dream, if I truncate the dream, if I bury the dream, then the 2,000, the 1,500, the 2 billion people who are supposed to benefit from that answer, I'm responsible for that. That is
Absolutely.
some good stuff.
Absolutely. And may I interject?
Yes.
So one of my favorite parables in the Bible is the parables about the talents, the 10 talents, and how the owner of the house distributed the talents between three different people.
Mhm.
I believe he gave one five, one two, and one, or whatever it was. Um, and I often think about the one who went and buried his talent.
Come on
So
now.
this is what's happening when we don't execute our dream. Uh, it is much like the one who went and buried his talent. And so when the owner of the house came back to find out what they had done with what he gave them. I want you to hear this. And because what God gives us is a dream, and what he gives us, our dream is in seed form. So that means that we have to cultivate it and in order for us to execute it. And so what happened is when he came back, the one said, well, I buried mine because I was afraid.
Mm.
And the owner of the house rebuked him and
Yes,
calls him an unprofitable
he was
servant.
lazy, a lazy servant.
You see? And so here it is. We're sitting here, we're walking around, and we're proud to announce that we are we're dreamers, but we don't understand that tied to that is responsibility to cause that thing to multiply and for us to execute it in the earth, because it's going to ultimately bless somebody else's life.
Mm, mm,
And
mm.
so while you're sitting on it, God is looking at you, and you're looking as if you're an unprofitable servant while
My,
you're making all of these excuses about why you can't do it.
mm, my
When
goodness.
the other two people had talents, they did something with it. So if they did it, God would not have given it to you if you couldn't handle it.
Absolutely. And God is no respecter of persons. I mean,
Right.
if he gives it to one, he can give it to you, like you said at the top of the conversation. There's no limitation in God, only limitation in us. And our finite minds cannot understand the infinite mind of God. But at the same time, if we trust who he is, then we can
Right.
trust that he's going to bring it through it. I love how you said a dream is in seed form. So that means even if we plant it, not bury it, planting and burying are two different things. God,
Right.
please help me. I'm trying not to have a message today. If we plant it, there has to be time of germination. And what that basically means, that watering and that tilling of the soil is basically us making plans. It's writing business plans. It's presenting strategies while we're waiting for it to turn over in the earth. That's,
Yes, ma'am. You got it.
whew, my God, my God. I feel my help coming on right here, Melva. I'm telling you. Whew. All
That
right.
was good.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch it myself because I don't know. Whew, gracious.
Yeah,
But
we just want to help those who have a dream and just give them a different perspective,
yeah,
of what it is, what a dream actually is.
yes. And somebody put in the comments, they said, even though we're supposed to share our dream with the world and those who we're assigned to, is it wise to share it with everybody? And when I say that, and this is what I'm believing the question is, when we share it with other people, we have to be careful who we share our dream with. For instance, I have certain people, I don't tell them what I'm preaching. I don't, ahead of time, or I don't tell them what the Lord has given me, because next thing I know, I'll hear it preached or I'll see it trying to be, carried out, and it falls flat. I said, you cannot take what God has given me and use it as a counterfeit and try to benefit from it.
Mm.
You,
Wow.
he's not giving it to you the same way. So you may steal my sermon, but it's not going to fall in the same place in the hearts of the people because he didn't show you what it was supposed to do. You were
Right.
the tiller of that ground. And
Mm-hmm.
so oftentimes we make the mistake of being so zealous and excited to share what God has shown us to people we think are our supporters, but in actuality, they are our haters.
Yeah.
Us right here.
Well, okay, I'll say two things about that. I'll say two things. One, I thought about Mary, the mother of Jesus, when the angel came to her and let her know that she was going to be with child. The Bible talks about how she pondered it in
Yeah.
her heart, and I
Mm-hmm.
believe that sometimes things are so extraordinary that God speaks to us about. Um, and a lot of times is light years from where we are,
Mm-hmm.
and so with things like that, I do think that there's a season, and I do think there are things that God speaks to us about, that we should ponder in our hearts. I think that that is wisdom. In terms of, so there are two things here again with you, what you were saying about someone stealing or trying to take what it is, you put out there or you mentioned to them or whatever. One thing I have learned, and how it falls flat. One thing I have definitely learned is that when God gives you a dream, when you are actually the carrier of the dream and it's something that he wants to birth through you, um, and someone you feel like, oh, I may have talked about it too soon, and then you see it somewhere. One thing I've learned, is that with a God inspired dream comes the passion and the anointing, the
Mm-hmm.
power to
Power.
carry it out. And so you I wouldn't worry about someone trying to take it or something like that. First of all, they said that the highest form of flattery is for someone to copy you. So
Absolutely. Absolutely.
you know what? I don't mind being a trendsetter. I don't mind,
Right.
that's a good thing. Sometimes when you're a pioneer of something, though, people will do that. But I will say that if it originated, if it's something that God gave to you, um, don't worry about someone taking it and running with it, because it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Not, and even if it does, a lot of times, if you notice, people will copy something. Just be who God called you to be.
Yeah.
Because when you copy something, again, you lack the passion to
Hmm.
complete it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
lack the passion to take it to where it needs to go.
Absolutely. I tell you, you are blessing this whole segment right here. This is not a religious platform, but I'm not going to divorce myself from who I am. I am a pastor, so it's blessing my whole spirit. But look, listen here. You just said the part about somebody stealing it, and
Right.
and falling flat. And I do this thing called I have estate planning. I do estate planning, and I do webinars and live webinars and things like that. And I had been sharing it with a colleague, and they never grabbed a hold to it or what have you. And next thing I know, I saw an email about somebody else that they were having to do it. And I almost got mad. I almost got mad. I told my husband, I said, "Do you see this foolery right here?" I said, "Okay, wait a minute." Because I had to be reminded that how God gave it to me to present may not be is assigned to the people that who would need it from me, and who they were doing it for was for them to capture an audience for a different motive. And because I knew that, I had to bring my temper down. Not temper, but I had to temper my emotions, if you will.
Yes.
Manage my, because I was like, and I emailed them. I said, "What?" I said, "I've been talking to you about this for months, and you let somebody else do it." I said, "But that's all right." I said, "Have a good show," you know. And so I, I'm glad that you said that, because I think a lot of us get bothered when we do see something replicated that we thought originated in our hearts, but we see it replicated somewhere in the earth, and we're like, "Well, that's my idea." Well, God gives us all more than one mind.
He
We all,
really does.
you
He
know,
really does. And your own flavor will be on it. And you'll have, if it's something that God gave to you, you'll have the passion to finish it. I've had people, and I've seen people, I do a lot of coaching, and I've had people get so upset because someone, copied their idea, almost had their same logo in one case. It was bad. It was bad.
oh
But
God,
and I remember sharing with them, not, don't be concerned. If God gave you this, if this is your vision, then carry it out. You
yeah.
may see someone doing something similar, and I don't think the other person lasted 30 days, maybe 60 days. I'll give them 60 days, and they dropped it, because again, it was a beautiful idea, a beautiful you know concept and everything. And anybody who saw it probably would say, "Oh, I would love to be able to do that." And so it was appealing. It was appealing, but they did not have the passion to carry it out, and so they dropped it. And I said, "See, you were worried about nothing, you know."
Right. Their appeal was not anointed. How, my goodness.
Yeah, I mean, we all, because if you look around, we're doing things that are similar, but however God gives it to you, or however you imagine it, that's what you need to carry out.
Absolutely, absolutely. I put on here, it's a season of release. You got to understand when that season is, and you
Yes.
can't be afraid to speak it out of your mouth, because the Bible tells us to declare a thing. And so if we don't declare it and we harbor it in our heart, then nobody will ever know, and then God will not. It'll appear to God. I'm not speaking for him. This is a Michelle-ism. It will appear to God that you're ashamed to release what he said. You're ashamed
Yeah.
to do what he told you. And so we don't ever want that to happen, because we're ashamed before God, or we're ashamed before men, all of those different things. But whew, I tell you, this is exciting to me. So I need you to help me right here. We have a question from our audience. Says, what do you do? What do you say to people who don't have dreams? I mean, you would think that everybody has something in them they want to do, but I have met people, in all honesty, through the course of my almost 55 years. I'll be 55 in 2 weeks. And I'm like, "Well, what do you want to do?" "Nothing." What do you want to, who do you want to help? Mm. What do you say to those people who, I mean,
I
absolutely.
would say to that person, call me or another coach to help you to figure out what it is you're supposed to be doing. Because I'll say this, whether you feel inspired to do anything or not, the truth of the matter is you're here for a purpose. You may not know what that purpose is. You may not even want to do it when you find out. But
Mhm.
the truth of the matter is we all have purpose. And
Yeah.
so I would definitely recommend that person to speak with a coach.
Wonderful, because I'm telling you, they are there. I mean, there are people that I coach, there are people that I counsel and mentor, and I'm going, and I know as a coach, we cannot make them, you know,
Right.
and as a counselor, I cannot make them. All we do is come alongside. We are a paraclete. We help them hear what they say so they'll know what to do.
Absolutely.
And
And
some
that's
of
a
them,
good point, Michelle. I think when people are saying that, they're really not hearing themselves. You know how you'll hear somebody say, "Are you hearing yourself?"
I said that to myself. I said, I just heard myself say that because that means it resonated with me. Because
Yeah.
when I teach,
Yeah.
when I teach my classes, my counseling classes, and I'm telling the ladies, this or my students or whatever, such and such, and then I'll hear myself say something. That's something I need to catalog because I'm like, okay, that resonated with me, and I need to do something with it. I can't just let it, fall on the ground and have no productivity to it. It's something that I need to write down, ponder, pray about, and then say, okay, how can I utilize this, or how do I need to get rid of this, or whatever the case may be. You got to allow them to. I don't think people are hearing themselves say anything because I think they're
Absolutely.
afraid to declare a thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
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 I agree.
I really believe that because when you hear people, I ask people, what have you been doing during the pandemic? But there's nothing I can do. All I do is work. I said, there's nothing creative that you can come up with. There's no extra stream that that God has given you to formulate or strategize about. No, I've just been, I'm just waiting for the world to open up. I said, but what if it doesn't?
Wow.
What if it never opens back up to the normalcy that we're used to? What if it never opens back up that way? Are you going to sit
Right.
there and die?
Yeah, right. And I do believe that that normal is gone. We have definitely, and this is for a whole nother show, but
Yeah,
we have
it
definitely experienced a paradigm shift during this pandemic, and not just a paradigm shift of the world, but personal paradigm
absolutely.
shift.
Mhm.
And that's a whole nother subject. But yeah,
I'll bring you back in June. How about that?
to talk about personal paradigm.
Let me tell you something. They don't get it. They don't get it. And let me. I don't want to get into my message, but I just think people have got it so wrong. Instead of complaining and being complacent, you've got to get yourself to in a place where you can see how can I expand in this thing. And with that, someone says, how do you expand the dream and push past the pandemic to accomplish your purpose? I think you just said something to that effect.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
How do you expand the dream and push past the pandemic to accomplish your purpose?
So I'm not. So here's the thing. I'm not sure how people are looking at the pandemic, and it depends on your perspective of it all. Now, I mean, a lot of things are happening. A lot of things have happened to um, definitely give us rise to be concerned and all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but at the same time, if you're looking at the pandemic as okay, we're shut down, um, then this gives me time to do what I wasn't able to do when the world was open. That's how I looked at it. I was
Me
like, oh my
too.
goodness.
I got
uh,
time to do this.
yeah, I have to. Because before we were just running on autopilot a lot of times, just always busy. Everybody you call, everybody you talk to, would the first thing they'd say out their mouth, I'm just so busy today. My day is just hectic. And you would get that a lot.
Can I call you back?
Now,
Can I text you
yeah,
back?
now the pandemic, we had to dial all of that back.
All of it.
So nobody's saying they're busy. So I would definitely say change your perspective
Yeah.
and look at it as, um, you know, God has given you some time to get done what you have to do. Work on your dream at least weekly. If you can't do it daily, do something every week that will get you closer to it. Take action steps to get closer to your end goal. Figure out where you want to go and the steps that you need to take to get there. And
Mm.
once you figure out what those steps are, those strategy steps, perhaps it's 10 things you need to do, list them, and weekly do one at a time.
So
And so when the world does open back up, guess what?
you'll
You
be
will
ready.
have accomplished something
Mhm.
related to your dream or your goal.
And you'll be ready. One thing that because I look at the pandemic, I say, okay, God, this is giving me a good pause. This is a pregnant pause. It's an opportunity. And so I would tell people, I said, how long was your commute before the pandemic? Oh, I'd be in the car hour and 15 minutes both ways. I said, you have 2.5 hours back that you can now dedicate to whatever, to your dream, because you're not sitting in a car in traffic. You're not frustrated with your commute. That 2.5 hours that you would have been on the road can now be utilized, redirected towards planning or doing something that's going to bring your dream to pass.
Yeah,
That's how I look at
absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. And listen, a lot of things people were doing prior to the pandemic, they may have been doing in person. A lot of times you can just kind of look at your um, whatever service you had or whatever you were doing, and make it adjust it or redesign it where it'll work on Zoom and
it.
work virtually.
Yeah. Hmm.
That's another way you can expand and continue to keep moving.
Absolutely. It's all about thinking outside the box.
Absolutely.
Who would have thought that we wouldn't be allowed to go to church? And this is
Right.
where you now start to learn about your real relationship with God. Is
Your
it
real
based, is it
relationship.
based off the brick and mortar that you go to, or is it based off the brick that's inside of you, that you being the temple? So I'm like, this pandemic has allowed us to think outside the box. I mean, I was doing my Bible study classes online before the pandemic, but then it allowed me to expand and do so many different things,
Absolutely.
YouTube channel and all that. And I think people need to stop making excuses about why they can't and look at what everybody else has been. I had never heard of StreamYard. I had never heard of Zoom. I had never heard of all of these different virtual platforms. And here we are utilizing them all, depending on what we're doing, to get it done.
Absolutely.
I'm a speaker, so now I speak virtually instead of going face to face. I'm a trainer. I teach college level classes. I can't go to college, so I teach them. So you have to learn how to think outside the box, think beyond you, and see how you can be creative.
Absolutely. And let me just say this. Let me put this out here. When it's a God inspired dream, it is pandemic proof.
Right.
Okay. God is not intimidated by any of this. And if he's giving you something, trust me, it is pandemic proof. You will get around it. You will find a way.
Absolutely. Because it's not his pandemic.
Right.
I'm so sick of people say, God let this and God. I said, y'all know we live in an earth where there are principalities and wickedness and high. You know that. So with your, I don't want to say, no, I'm gonna say it, with your quote unquote saved self, how you gonna get mad at God for a pandemic? He sees everything, but he has sustained you. He has, you're still alive, you're still kicking or whatever, maybe not high, but you cannot blame God. God is not surprised by
Right.
this, but he has an expectation that we fulfill the responsibility that's been laid to our charge. If you
Absolutely.
if you were preaching before, keep preaching. If you were teaching before, keep teaching. If you were doing art before, keep doing that. God is not surprised. He wants to see how we're going to act.
Listen, there is no dream or dreamer who is not challenged or who has not been challenged. There is no opportunity without opposition.
Absolutely.
I don't know anybody who just walks in and everything falls into place. And
Mm-mm.
so, again, as a dreamer, and someone who is the carrier of the dream, who carries a dream or carries the burden of the Lord, whatever you want to call it, however you want to say it, you're going to be met with challenges.
Yes.
And so you're going to have to find a way to get around it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This is some good, 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 good stuff right here.
And let me just drop this one more thing because I just thought
Love it.
about it too. So, listen, guys, this is something I've learned about chaos. Chaos chaos demands a champion.
Mm,
Chaos birth out champions. Chaos calls forth champions. And so the fact that we are in a chaotic time, that's only saying that, oh, no wonder there are so many dreamers. No wonder I've met so many dreamers up to now, because they're the ones who will be champions in this season, because already chaos demands that a champion stands up. And we can go all the way through the scripture, and every time that there was something going on in the earth, you can read the whole book of Judges. There was always, God had to always raise up a champion when something was happening, so that somebody would be there as the deliverer. And
yeah.
so chaos births out champions. And so we're not intimidated by a challenge, whether it's called a pandemic or whatever you want to call it, whatever happens. We know that as dreamers, we carry the answer to someone's need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Last question before we wind up this wonderful session. We have to bring you back. How do you know when it's time to give up your dream? How do you know?
Well, you know what? So here's the thing. Here's when do I give up my dream? And again, we're talking about God inspired dreams.
Mhm.
When do I give up on my dream? I don't know if it's giving up or if you need to transfer and call and let somebody else do it. That's why I said we talked about it earlier. You don't give up on your dream until you see it come to pass. And
Yeah.
if it's not meant for you to see it come to pass, then you write it so others can run with it. But
Mm.
if it is a God inspired dream, it will come to pass whether you execute it or not. Somebody else will pick it up
Mhm.
and run with it.
Yes, yes. That's part of that succession planning.
Absolutely. We're looking at it right now. We can look at what happened in Georgia. We can look at what happened as far as I believe what is the pastor's name? Warnock did just
Mhm.
won the election. Um that he's the pastor of Dr. King's
Church.
church.
Mhm. Mhm.
The person who had, come on,
Had
that
the,
is
had the
crazy. The
dream.
person who had the dream. Isn't that
It's
amazing?
amazing.
It is amazing. So he didn't see it, but because he did what he could, in terms of putting the dream out there, it came to pass.
Yes, yes, yes. That's
We're living his dream.
yes.
All he told us was, "I have a dream."
Go fulfill it.
Oh my
Whew,
gosh.
this is some good
Oh my
stuff.
gosh.
Mm-mm. But see, we don't have enough time on here to work with that. We're gonna have to have a meeting of the minds after.
Can I leave you all with one more thing? Just so for those who have a dream, let me tell you real quick, what a dream is. A dream is simply a glimpse of what is possible. A dream is your assignment to carry out in the earth. A dream is a preview of your purpose and greatness, the greatness you have in you. God gave you a preview. A dream is that thing that nudges you to take action and try to, you know, fulfill that dream. And that dream is asking you, just nudging you, knocking on the door of your heart, saying, hey, let me out. Because I am the answer. I am the solution to somebody's problem.
My goodness, my goodness. Ooh, this is good. This is good. We're going to have to bring you back for a part two. I tell you, ladies and gentlemen, we have been talking with my very special guest, Melva McGlen. She is an amazing woman. I need you to go out to her website at www.book2businessonline.com. That is www.book2businessonline.com. Certainly visit her on her website. On her Facebook page. Inspired, that's the letter Inspired, the letter 4 Life Women's Empowerment Network. I'm telling you, she will bless you all. She's the coach's coach. Let me tell you, I'm I'm a coach now. This I was going to say this thing. This woman blessed me. She done blessed my life, and I'm gonna have to go and sit in this thing for a minute. But let me tell you, I need you all again. If you need a coach's coach, because you know I'm a coach, but I tell you, I'll send y'all to her. Give her my business. Visit her at www.book2businessonline.com. You will not be disappointed. I tell you, it's been a blessing to have you on the show today, Melva. And for those of you who would like to watch the playback, please visit my YouTube channel, which is Life Matters with Michele TV Official. You can watch this episode as well as episodes from season 1 and go back there and see what we're talking about that matters in our life. And then if you want to be a guest, I'm booking for June because I'm all booked up until the second week of June. Please visit my website at www.iam-mij.com. Once again, that is www.iam-mij.com. You can also listen to this message, these messages on Fridays on sensationalsoundsradio.net. So you got the visual on YouTube, and then you got the audio on sensationalsoundsradio.net. Melva, thank you so much, my dear, for coming on and being my special guest on the show today. It has been a blessing beyond words. I can't even tell you. I'll tell you later. But it has been a blessing. Thank you so much for coming. I want to thank each and every one of our viewers and our listeners for tuning in, for chiming in, for chatting with us on today. I am your host, the one and only Michele Irby Johnson, and this has been Life Matters, where we talk about what matters to you. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for watching and for listening, and we will talk to you again real soon. Have a blessed week. Bye-bye.